Stole my gavel. We'll call the meeting in order. Regular meeting February 11, 2003. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you please bow your head in prayer? We ask God that you watch over our men and women in the armed forces. We ask that you guide us in our decision-making process. In these things we pray, amen.
Amen. Roll call, please, and declaration of conflicts of interest.
Councilmember Parker?
Present.
Marquez? Martinez?
Present.
Mayor Fanadilla?
Present. Item 5, communications from staff. Any communications this evening?
No, I don't believe there is anything tonight.
Okay. Item 6, items from the public, non-agenda items. While the City Council welcomes and encourages participation in the meetings, it would be appreciated if you would limit your comments to 3 minutes so that everyone may be heard. Matters under the jurisdiction of the Council and not on the posted agenda may be addressed by the general public at this time. However, California law prohibits the Council from taking action on any matter which is not on the posted agenda unless it is determined to be an emergency by the City Council. I believe we have a non-agenda item. Ms. Newman, Sarah Perry would like to say a few words.
Hi everybody, I'm back. Well, basically, like I said, we're trying to build a float for Newman and it's gotten underway. We've got a lot of things donated, and a way for us to start it off was we needed a big fundraiser to start it off, and we have donations up to $500 so far. And with that $500, we've invested it into a casino night. And what this casino night basically is, it's we hired people to bring craps, blackjack, roulette, bingo. We're having a no-host bar. We're having raffle prizes. We have trips donated. We have roulette, slots, music, 11 p.m. buffet, valet parking, all the above. It's basically just another thing to get the community involved, and it's a big fundraiser for us. We're having this on March 1st, 2003, and the social begins at 7, and then from 7 to 8 is the social, and then at 8 to 12 is the game time. And the game time is basically, we're going to be walking around with hors d'oeuvres, and you guys can play it till your heart's content. Tickets are $30, and that's for the single. And with that $30, you get 10 raffle tickets as you walk in, as well as $100 worth of tokens to play. And then you can purchase more if you run out, which I'm sure you guys will, because you guys will have a ball. But the couple is $50, and that again is for 2 people, and both people will get $100 worth of game tokens as well as 20 tickets in a raffle. We'll also be having donations from companies for like tables. You can donate a table. We've already had 2 tables donated. We have 33 in total. And basically what it is to get your company out there. It's kind of like a promotional advertisement. We'll give you a little card to put your name, the company name on it, and it'll be on the table. It's not donated to sit at. It's donated just to decorate the table, or we'll decorate it ourselves. Again, it's just to get the company's advertisement, and it's $50 per table. And then the table so far that we have donated is we have an Irish table, and there's going to be like Baileys on the table and Irish music and little prizes, because 4 people can sit at a table, and we got 4 prizes donated for that table. We have another one that's an educational table where there's going to be library books and kind of stuff like that. So I encourage you guys to come. I just basically wanted to come and show you guys that I am trying to do something to get this underway. And the money will be for the scholarship for the Miss Newmans in the future, as well as for the float of this year, which I will get done within the next 6 months. So if you guys have any questions and concerns, you can call me, Sarah Perry at 862-3474 for tickets, information, and this is only for 21 and over, please. So thank you for your time, and I hope to see you guys all there. Do you guys have any questions?
Any questions for Sarah?
Oh, it's at the West Side Theater. I'm sorry, good question.
Yeah.
It's at the West Side Theater, and it's donated. They donated the theater to us for that night, which is a big donation. They're also going to be doing the alcoholic beverages for us, so it won't be done by me since I'm underage. And so all the alcohol will be provided by them, and we're going to have wine on the table, and it's going to be a great gathering for everyone. Anybody else?
Well, the only comment I'd make, I was telling Sarah earlier that I just recently attended one of these in Gustine, and they're certainly a lot of fun. So I would encourage all the citizens to participate, as long as they're over 21.
Yeah, 21, please. Okay, well, thank you, and have
Thank
a
you,
great
Sarah.
night.
That's an idea.
Well, we didn't think of that.
Do we have any other non-agenda items tonight? Okay, items from the public. Agenda items. Any member of the audience desiring to address the council on a matter on the agenda, please raise your hand or step to the podium at the time when the item is announced by the mayor. In order that all interested parties have an opportunity to speak, any person addressing the council will be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes unless the mayor grants a longer period of time. Any comments on agenda items? Okay. Item 7, we have a proclamation for Black History Month. Proclamation of the Mayor of the City of Newman. Whereas the City of Newman is a cordial community of diverse cultures with shared democratic ideas. I guess is that what that is? Democratic ideas. And whereas, I guess I should have read this first. And whereas the City of Newman recognizes and celebrated history of paying tribute to its citizens that have rendered their time and talent for the betterment of our community through its growth and development. And whereas an observation of African American history brings forth a continued effort to overcome prejudice and teach tolerance, ensuring a bias for better understanding and cooperation amongst our citizens. And whereas the month of February has been established nationally as Black History Month, the City of Newman wishes to join its African American residents in commemoration of this month. Now, therefore, I, John Panizia, Mayor of the City of Newman, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2003 as Black History Month in the City of Newman. Tim, would you like to
Yes, thank
say
you,
a
Mr.
few
Mayor.
words?
I certainly wanted to just make a comment. Oftentimes it's not known how Black History Month came about, and I just wanted to read a brief excerpt here. And this comes from Carter G. Woodson, a historian keenly interested in education. In 1915, Carter G. Woodson founded the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History. It was through this organization that he began pressing for Negro History Week. So in its conception, he was seeking just a week as a mechanism for exploring the contributions of Black Americans. This dream became a reality in 1926. Woodson chose the second week of February because two persons he felt had dramatically affected the lives of Black Americans were born during this month. One, Abraham Lincoln, and two, Frederick Douglass. It would be much later in recent history, 1976, when the now renamed Association for the Study of African American Life and History would succeed in promoting the week into Black History Month. So that just gives you a little bit of background of how Black History Month came about to be recognized nationally. And I just have one other quotation that I'd like to read, and it's from one of the most prominent Black African Americans that's in office today, and that's from our Secretary of State, Colin Powell, who's been given quite a bit of press time lately due to our country's circumstances. The Declaration of Independence, I think, is one of the most remarkable documents in the world. Inalienable rights, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We hold these truths to be self-evident. But it didn't apply to black folks. Thomas Jefferson kept slaves. But Thomas Jefferson nevertheless wrote these marvelous words, and he understood the inconsistency, end quote. And that was from Colin Powell, Secretary of State. Thank you for reading of the proclamation, and thank you for listening to the comments.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Item 8, consent calendar. Number A, approval of warrants. B, approval of minutes of the January 14th, 2003 regular meeting. C, second reading and adoption of ordinance number 2003-1, an ordinance amending Title 10, Section 3, Section 1 of the Newman Municipal Code, speed limits. Item D, authorize staff to purchase 1977 International dump truck from Stonmar Equipment for $5,500. Number E, adopt resolution number 2003, next number, resolution authorizing the review of the annual automatic adjustment of capital facility fees by an inflation factor for the year 2003.
Mr. Mayor, I had asked that we only pull one consent calendar item, item D, for a brief comment. Otherwise, I move that we approve the consent calendar as read.
We have a second.
I second that motion.
All in favor of approving consent calendar items A, B, C, and E? Say aye.
Aye.
I pulled item D for just a brief comment. I'd like to commend Lance Perry for this recommendation. As you reviewed the report, it was budgeted for $9,000, and it's actually $4,500 below that mark for this particular purchase. And I think that through that, what's been going on at our sewer plant, it's made money, particularly with, Mr. Mayor, if you recall, when we decided to farm out that land ourselves, that we've actually made that a profit scheme. So I just wanted to commend that effort, and for it to come under its budgeted amount. We may need that $4,500 elsewhere. With that said,
Good point.
Can I make a comment quickly? Since you did pull that, hopefully that you realize the 5,500 does not include the tax and licensing that it explained in the report. It still should be under 6,000, I think, is what we're estimating, isn't it, Ernie? But the 5,500 is the cost of the vehicle only. There will be the tax and licensing, et cetera, that we have to do on that, registration and et cetera. So anyway, it will be slightly over that, but it'll still be far below the 9,000, probably below 6,000.
Absolutely, but
Just want to make sure that was included in, yes. Okay.
yes.
And that cost is explained in the report, so.
Very good. Well, with that, I move that we approve consent calendar item D.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 9, regular business. Item A, reappoint members to the Planning Commission and Parks and Recreation Commission.
Mayor and council, we've had this advertised, I think, for over a month now, I believe, haven't we, Judy? We have had several existing members have come in and applied for their positions that they want to continue on their commissions. We did not have any new applications. It's at the council's discretion what they would like to do with these as far as a reappointing or et cetera. What we've included is the applications for those who are have asked to be reappointed. For the Planning Commission, that is Deborah Allen and Ed Ford. And Ed Ford asked to be excused tonight. He wanted to be here, but he has another commitment with the veterans on this night, so he was unable to be here. Both for the Parks and Recreation Commission, both Jeff Ennis and Michelle Santos have turned in their applications, and you have those and are interested in being reappointed. Joyce Biller called and let us know that she, because of time commitments, you may know she recently had a new baby, and she is unable to, she is not asking to be reappointed at this time. So that will leave us still with one vacancy on the Recreation Commission we will need to fill, but we do have these applications that you can reappoint at this time if you'd like to.
So basically, we're still going to be one person short on the Rec Commission.
That's correct.
Have some direction?
I move that we reappoint the members to the Planning Commission and Parks and Recreation Commission.
We have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 4-0.
Thank you for your continued service.
Definitely. I guess we'll be posting a notice for,
Yes, we will continue to
Open
do that. I
spot.
think what we found though on that, just encourage you and everyone in here actually, that, you know, the best way to get these people on these commissions seems to be through word of mouth. So if you can find people that are interested in the Recreation Commission, and we will continue on the staff level to do the same, let them know that there is that position.
You know, I do
open.
want to say one thing.
Sure.
I know Tim just thanked Deborah for her amount of service. I don't think that the people in the community realize that she's been on the Planning Commission since 1992. And you're going on 11 years now on the Planning Commission. So, you know, I also would like to thank you for, I mean, that's a long time, and a lot of, you know, you've been involved in most of the projects that we've, you know, been involved with regards to planning. So I certainly want to let everybody know that we appreciate your 11 years of service.
I thank you for letting me do that.
thank you to everybody
Thank you.
for their continued service. Thank you very much. And if anybody's interested in the Rec Commission, we have an opening. Okay, item 9B. Consider and discuss the mid-year review of the City of Newman's 2002-2003 budget. I think this is Margaret's.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of the council. This being the most critical item that a council could discuss in this day and age, we must take plenty of time to explore all the problems facing us fiscally. So we will be discussing, going over the mid-year budget review, over the process, and just to give council a heads up on where we are fiscally for the city of Newman. The purpose of the mid-year review budget serves threefold. The first fold is to determine the accuracy of the projections which we made at the beginning of the fiscal year. Basically, we're pretty close for this year. Perhaps the one area that we were weak was in the projections for utilities for our water department. In 2000-2001, we spent $75,000. 2001-2002, it went up to $105,000. Unfortunately, bills came in late after projections were made. This year we had budgeted $94,000, but in that one area we expect to spend $25,000 more at a cost of $119,000. Again, that problem is primarily due to the timing of when the bills had come to us, and the costs were going up and the use is also higher. Most of the other items will be made up through the savings and other line item numbers, because you can count that not every account that we have will be expended to its extreme. So basically the $64,000, which were based on projections, $15,000 of that was new items requested by Mel Souza for Jaws of Life repair and a smoke machine and carry over. So basically we're $24,000 projection over the entire budget. That was a little off for those that were over, and we didn't even consider all the savings in the other accounts that were made. So this is a good thing. New items, these were items that were approved by council during the course of the year after the budget had been approved. $115,000. The biggest cost was the upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant for $90,000. The caveat on this, or the problem, may arise because there were items that were discussed and approved, but it hasn't been quantified yet and put into a budget. Things such as the GSI system, the pavement management system, a sidewalk program. The downtown plaza, we have $35,000 budgeted, but there's a lot of pending costs on that, and if we don't exceed that this year, we certainly will next year. The infrastructure for our industrial park, we have budgeted $200,000, but we've already spent over $60,000 on the tile drain system. So, and again, this will go way over that amount, but it may not occur this year. Now, we also at this point in time, secondly, would like to compare the expenses to the revenue. This is critical. When we adopted the budget initially, general fund was $76,000 short of expenses over revenue. After we reevaluate where we are now, there's an additional shortfall of $42,000, bringing it to $118,000. But keep in mind that a lot of this is timing, and also that the savings and line item numbers were not considered. So at this time, there isn't a cause to worry.
Margaret, on page 3 here of the report, your staff report, it says that the Sacramento situation hasn't been considered into these figures. What's the latest that we've heard? I mean, I've been a little bit out of the loop lately.
I believe
so-
the governor did veto the bill that had the reinstated the VLF fees,
Okay.
and so they're nowhere.
If I can just quickly on that, the latest that I have heard is that the governor has pretty much given up on being able to get any cuts into this year's budget, just because being able to get the agreement between the legislature and him. So it
Right.
looks like all the hit that will be taken is gonna come with next year's budget. It's not gonna happen this year. That was a comment that I heard just recently that came out of the governor's office, so.
So they're just gonna put this off.
Again, it looks like they're putting it off until next budget year. The one thing is on the VLF that, you know, we have been encouraging him to trigger that, because that actually happens on a monthly basis. That's money that is being lost to their general fund when they don't hit that trigger to
Right.
put that back in effect. But
Okay. Have we heard anything more on that redevelopment, that unspent redevelopment money?
No,
that
we
they
have
were-
not.
Nothing on that either?
It didn't happen December 1st as
right,
we
and
feared.
that was in both the Senate version and the Assembly versions of things that could be done. That was left out. That $500 million that was proposed to be taken out of redevelopment housing set-aside funds was not included in either one of their budgets. So again, the projection is that that will probably not be a hit that will happen this year, but.
So they're just
still under
hoping
their
right now that, to put the heavy lifting off till next year, hope the economy turns around and there's a huge amount of revenue that comes in, basically is what's
Yeah,
happening.
I think the big thing is that they just know that they're not gonna be able to reach agreement
Right. Okay.
soon enough to do anything to affect this year now,
Okay,
so.
We've looked
thank
at
you. Thanks, Cliff.
We've looked at the accuracy of the projections, the comparison of revenues to expenses. We need to look at the whole picture, which oftentimes we don't have the opportunity to do that until you have the whole budget in front of you. We have looked at the current expenditures to the current revenue, basically operations. We attempt to reconcile the two for the current year, but we also have to always consider the time lag, carryover. Sometimes things are budgeted for but not spent in one year, so we spend it this year, and that would make expenses higher than what was originally hoped. Cash lag should be considered. We're waiting for over $400,000 on reimbursement from the state for the streetscape and INEO projects. And the fourth item that we look at are trends. Now, our trend is good if you only look at our local generated revenue and if you only look at the historic revenue flow that the city has experienced. But if you look at what could happen with the state, that $118,000 could lose an additional $100,000. We might need to supplement RDA loan payments of $50,000. We could lose future backfill of over $11,000. So that deficit could be in a year over $300,000, and we would lose our general fund cash reserve within 3 years. And that could be a very difficult picture, and it depends how the thing goes on. So it just makes us, we can't say how much, we can't say when, but we can say we need to be exceedingly cautious and prudent as we spend city funds. So basically that's it. There are summaries. The first sheet, page 1, shows all the line item numbers that may need an adjustment at the end of the year. No, line 1 shows, it takes the final budget for revenue, the projected budget for revenue, and shows the variance. It takes the final budget for expenses and the final budget projected for expenses. It takes the variance of those two. And the final column is taking the new projected revenue numbers from the new projected expense numbers. That is the key, but that only shows current year, does not consider any carryovers or any cash balances. And page 2 is the individual listing of the line item numbers that there might.
Bring something up on this first page, page 2. The GSI system, that was never approved by this council.
No, but it was discussed, and it's not in here.
Right, and I
Right,
understand that.
yeah.
But under your heading here, it says approved increases not included in budget. Well, it wasn't.
Okay, yeah.
It wasn't approved.
There was no quantitative measurement or proposal for that, but it is something that the concept was approved by council a few months ago. But it never was incorporated with the cost into the budget.
I recall the presentation
Mhm.
by the person from the desk.
Right.
Yeah, I think the point is, Margaret, and I think Councilmember Parker is correct, the concept was discussed,
Right.
but as far as moving forward with it was not, it was
Right.
delayed, and we decided not to do it at that point. We were told that we may bring it back to look at, but it
Right.
wasn't, so,
I just
Yeah.
recall the exorbitant cost that we thought of at
Mhm.
the time, it's about $10,000.
Right.
correct.
I have one further question for you, Margaret. And I think that because of the conservatism in this town, and particularly with our finances, we'll be able to manage, particularly since we won't be hit, it seems we won't be hit that greatly this year. The upgrade to the wastewater treatment plant at $90,000, isn't that a one-cost capital project?
Yes, it is. And it is coming out of the wastewater treatment plant capital funds.
And thus, why is it inclusive in this amount, the total adjustment? Kind of explain it.
It's because it wasn't approved at the time that the budget was
That's the regular
approved.
budget?
So this is only looking at whatever was approved,
Right.
final budget in September, and the things that were brought up after that time. Even though it's funded, there's money available.
Right.
It just wasn't in the budget until now.
Out of that cost capital project fund for the wastewater treatment
Mhm.
plant, what is the amount in there?
The grand total,
Yes, it's a lot of money, I know.
it's a lot of money. It's lots and lots of money.
Several millions, I know.
But so is the cost of expanding the plant in the future. So, currently, we have cash in the wastewater capital of $487,000, and in the sewer, in the operating, we have cash of $1.1 million.
I
For
only bring that up
operations.
because I want to have it at some perspective, because when you look at the totality of the 115,000, which is down from the 188,000 we were last year, it kind of brings that capital cost project expense in line. You can almost minus that other 90,000, but I understand the principle.
Right. It's just that the item was not approved at the time that the budget was adopted. It's not putting any value judgment or anything on any of the items.
But that amount of money is out of a $1.5 million fund, roughly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And attached our line item for revenue and detail if council wishes to ask.
Is there any more questions for Margaret?
I have none.
Nope. As usual, thorough as usual.
I just have one point that I would like to make, if I could, and not to dwell on the negatives, but the most concerning thing, or the biggest thing that I look at whenever Margaret gives this to me is, of course, the general fund. And if you look at on the pages that Margaret's given you, it's page 1 that has the variance revenues versus expenses. This is the one that I look at to see what our general fund is doing, and I was very concerned, obviously, when Margaret brought this to me. But I wanted to point out one thing, as you show, with these adjustments that she's showing, the top line item, which is the general fund, shows revenue versus expenses, shows a negative of 118,000. Does everybody see that where I'm looking?
Yeah.
The one point that I wanted to make on that is I went back and reviewed. Margaret is very conservative in her estimates of expenditures and revenues. For example, last year I think we were, I don't remember the exact number, but I think we were somewhere around 60 or 70,000 in our budget in a negative balance. And when we started at year end, if you look at this now, we ended up in the positive of 87,000. So I only point those out to hopefully make the point that this 118,000 should look much better by the end of the year, and perhaps even probably in a positive, because of the conservative way that we do our budgeting, and I credit Margaret for that. I sometimes try to push her a little bit on some of our revenues and expenditures, but she does an excellent job of keeping me in line and making sure that we stay conservative where we need to be on those. So that is a number to be concerned with, the negative 118,000. However, I think every year we seem to be somewhat near there, not quite that high maybe, and every year it seems like we come out in a positive in the end since I've been here for the last 4 years. So as you review that number, I just want to make that point that that's something that we need to keep an eye on and be concerned with, and yet it's probably not as severe as it appears to be.
I want to make a comment based on that. Part of this is tied to what I'm looking at, and specifically is some of the funds that we reimburse to builders, and subsequently as they build, take out additional building permits.
Right,
We refund
exactly.
for some of that fund. So it's kind of based on
Right.
the housing industry to a certain extent.
Mhm.
That's the way I'm reading it. So
Yeah.
if there's a number of permits taken out during the summer, housing growth happens to be stimulated
Mhm.
this summer, that can also balance out.
Right, exactly.
Right, right. That's it for me. Just want to make that one point.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cleve. Thank you, Margaret.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah.
I'm more depressed, but thank you.
You scared the hell out of us, Mark.
We have some direction.
Is this an action item or discussion on? Is this being proposed
There-
for our
This
assessment?
discussion.
There is no action that's necessary at this time. Margaret only has us we only do the final adjustments at year end. We don't do adjustments at mid-year. So this is only an information item unless there is something that you would like direction you'd like to take in any area, so.
Okay, moving on to item 9C. Award contract to Polymus Enterprises for upgrades to Lions Park and authorize city manager to execute agreement with Polymus Enterprises for design work and Garcia Davis Ringler for survey work. Cleve?
As the council recalls previously, and I'm looking quickly for the dates, November 12th, the council approved using the $58,000 of state bond money, which we are given on a per capita basis, to put into Lions Park for upgrades to Lions Park. In order to do this, one of the first steps is to do some design work on that. And so I've been working, actually I've had a hard time finding someone to do this design work until now. I've talked to a couple, and I've got real good recommendations from other cities and some other people. I end up calling a bunch of people and ask them, who do you use and who can you recommend? And almost all of them said this company, Polymus Enterprises, to do this work. So I got the quote from them. I have not actually been able to get any other quotes from other people. And so I am recommending that we move forward with this. As you see with this cost, or with the previous estimate I'd given you, was $59,500 for the total project. This is a cost, eligible cost, that will come out of this state money. And so there will be a match of about $1,500 to the $58,000 if it comes out to be this much, and we'll see how it goes. There's a good chance it may come in under this.
Are those guaranteed funds from the state?
It's my understanding that yes, they are. The state has issued the bonds, and they can only go for these projects. So yes, I understand that those are guaranteed funds to come from the state.
I think for us to be out there hanging and get a project started on the engineering phase.
Right.
And then all of a sudden-
We do have the contract already in place with the state to get these funds, so I will verify that before I commit any of these funds. I will make phone calls and verify that, but it's my understanding that these are set monies that can only go for this purpose. They can't be taken, and that they are not in danger.
And a
So
question to why you had so much difficulty getting any other vendors to possibly make a bid? Any idea?
what I figured is it's just that it's kind of a small job. It's just finding the right person that is willing to do something like that. I'm hoping to establish a relationship with Polymus, because from time to time we do have small projects like this, and perhaps if it works out right with them, that we might be able to get them on a regular basis to provide some design services for us when we need that.
And I guess my second question to that would be, I guess, the assessment of preparing for the drawings. You had reference to see that this was applicable for this type of project and the cost?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I've talked to others on it, and I'm comfortable that this is well within what it would cost to do this.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I have no further.
Direction?
I so move the award the contract to Polymus Enterprises for design of upgrades to Lions Park and authorize city manager to execute agreement with Polymus Enterprises for design work and Garcia Davis Ringler for survey work.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Boy, I mispronounced that one too. I guess I'm going to have to break down and go in and get some glasses.
Which would you do?
It's all right. Well, I said Polymus and it's Polymus. Been putting it off, but. Item 9D, consider purchase of replacement tables and chairs for the Louis J. Newman Memorial Building.
I've had Judy working on this project kind of since the first of the fiscal year, I think. This is budgeted for, it is planned for, it is a well-needed item in the budget, but as you recall, I believe at one of our previous meetings I mentioned to the council that I had directed staff to try to keep expenditures to only absolute necessary items to try to begin to control our budget somewhat. Since this is money that would be coming out of our general fund, I felt that it is something that's needed, but I wanted to get council direction on whether or not you consider this a necessity item that you want us to proceed with, or we have been planning for it for actually probably a couple of years now and trying to find a way to do it, and we finally put it in the budget this year. So anyway, I wanted to get council direction if this is something you want us to hold off on, or if you would like us to proceed with this purchase of tables and chairs for the memorial building.
I would have to say, having had recently our employee award ceremony, I would have never really noticed the chairs or the tables until you brought the staff report before us. I don't see it as necessary for the amount of money that our general fund may need to shore up some of the shortcomings that we just had a report from with Margaret. $15,000 is quite significant. We'll just have to, my opinion is that we'll just need to continue to make do until we're in a better financial situation. That's my take on it.
Charles?
You know, one of the things that I would like to see us do is, we had Pat Mizzetti here at the last meeting, and she was talking about those ceiling tiles there. And on this last item we just approved with regards to having some of the landscaping and some of that stuff around there, I would prefer to maybe see us get that stuff done first, and then maybe come back at a later date and maybe look at doing this. I know what kind of condition those things, they're in really bad shape. But I mean, I'd like to see us get some of these other projects done and just get the outside part done, get those tiles are worse yet. I mean, those tiles are really bad. And then maybe bring this back. I mean, certainly it's worthy. It's something worthy that we need to do. There's a lot of folks that go in there, participate, take care of that, and replacing that stuff's long overdue, but I'd like to see us do that other stuff first, and then maybe do this at a later date.
Cleve, in your staff report, you mentioned that, we're short tables. Have we had some groups or private people, wanting to rent it and we're short of chairs and tables?
Yeah, we have to keep updating that to let them know that it's my understanding that the occupancy rating, as well as it states here, is 225 persons. We only have 150 chairs, so obviously you can't seat that many people in there.
So,
Am I seeing this?
But
time to time that
we
is
let
a
them
problem.
know when they rent it that this is all we have, and therefore if you want more, they can always rent chairs from somewhere else or get them if they need to. But
Cleve, one of
those are them.
the things though, I noticed here on the lightweight aluminum tables at $197 a table, and granted this is the top of the line table that they have here, but on the $55 a chair though, is there a, I mean, is that pretty much the going rate?
that is for the type of chair that we're looking at that has a lifetime warranty. And I have experience with these. If ever they break, you call the company and they come out and they'll bring you out a new one. And that's the thing, because as you know, in a facility like that, they do take a pretty good beating from because of the use that they get. And so that was one of the things we looked at, is getting the lifetime warranty so that hopefully we don't have to buy them again. And this is a sturdy, I believe it's a metal chair that has its metal frame, stackable chairs, not like these, but similar. Metal frame with a plastic seat.
What's the warranty on these tables?
They're the same table as these that we bought for in
lifetime
here.
guarantee.
And
Lifetime.
do they have lifetime also?
They're lifetime.
I believe they are.
Huh.
Yeah, and that was the reason for those too. They're a nice lightweight tables. So they're very easy to move, and they're sturdy, and they have the lifetime warranty. So
No, I
those
can
are
see
some
it.
of the
If it's,
things.
I mean, obviously you can't beat that kind of warranty. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a pretty darn good warranty.
And those are the things we looked at. Yeah, we could
Exactly.
we could definitely get them cheaper. We could definitely get them cheaper, but
Whose lifetime?
Yeah.
Whose lifetime? Right.
that's true.
I have a pertinent question.
Sure.
Because we're talking about facilitating, having that building leased for different events. What kind of fee structure, because I just don't, do we know how much we might have remitted to us annually on a rough basis? How much money that we get back by leasing that? About 10,000 a year?
In rentals, yeah, from that facility.
Rental fees.
Margaret charges down to the kilowatt hour. She's in it.
And what frequency of the use? I mean, it's pretty regular, isn't it?
Yeah, very,
Okay.
yeah.
Couple of times a week.
Okay.
And in the summer, seems like every weekend there's a wedding or
Right.
anniversary or.
It's
I mean, because if
booked
we
well
do some of
or
these
another.
improvements, the tiles in there, some of the other stuff to make it even more attractive, maybe we might get more use out of it and
Sure.
get some more revenue.
Well,
So,
they did
but-
it off over the weekend real well. I understand I couldn't go because I work, but
Mhm.
I got reports back from another shop and
Yeah.
they said it's all done.
The comment, I should have mentioned that. Doug's not here. Ernie, I think maybe have you seen it in there? Doug mentioned to me that he was very impressed that they did a great job in the painting,
I
but.
heard that they did a good job.
No, I didn't
So-
get a chance to
Okay.
go over it.
I haven't seen it yet either, but Doug Matoza, who kind of supervised and helping get going on it, said that they did a really good job on it. It looks good, so.
Bob, did you have anything?
No, I just, the 10,000, Margaret, that we get for the year, where does that normally go? Back in the general fund?
General fund, yes.
Yeah. I was just wondering if that money couldn't be used, applied to, in the future, couldn't be applied to chairs and tables and things like that. And then it seems like it's paying its own way.
Because
Well,
what are our
Pardon? I'm sorry.
The cost of maintenance of the building ends up
Well,
being a
I-
little bit higher than that.
Well,
but-
then
so-
you're not actually making 10,000.
No,
We bring in.
that's the revenue
Oh,
they're bringing.
okay.
what's our cost on that building?
Well, then,
Just
It's
to,
about 12,000, and
Is
that's
it?
not including the maintenance.
okay.
well, that's not the bottom line then. 10,000 is not the bottom line.
No,
It
no.
runs in that. It's subsidized by the city.
You gotta charge more, Margaret.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you said the wrong thing.
See, a lot of it is, we have a very low rate that we charge for like nonprofits and clubs and things
I
like
think
that.
that's
So
the right thing to do.
that's where that, we get upside down on that, so.
Okay, thank you.
Dave?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. Dave Reed, 1541 Kern Street. I go to the 50-plus club meetings twice a month at the Memorial Building. And no doubt, the chairs and tables are really shabby. But outside of that, they're awfully heavy. And all these seniors have to take all these tables out, set them up, take them down, put them back every time they go up there. And a lot of these people are pretty well up there in years. And I think that the lighter chairs, the lighter tables would make a big difference to that too. And again, if you get new tables and chairs, maybe you get more people that'll want to get into there and rent the place. So I just wanted to make a comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. We have some direction?
I think I'll take one more comment. I think it'd be prudent if we defer the cost for the moment. I'm not opposed to having the new chairs and the tables. I certainly think that perhaps even with this current assessment, if maybe we can have this reevaluated by staff to maybe bring up the number of chairs, or bring down the number of chairs and tables so that we may be able to facilitate a little bit better. But at this particular time, I think it's a deferral cost that we will just have to bear.
Would you suggest going out and looking at some other ones, like with 20 or 30-year guarantee, Tim, or doing something like that, or possibly
No, I
buying
think-
half of them now or something?
Yeah, I think that this is okay in terms of he's looking for longevity, and I applaud the city manager for doing that. I'm just taking the extent of the amount of money that it should be deferred. If you're asking for direction, and I were to make the motion currently, then I would make the motion that we defer this item.
Yeah, I think if we could just get something, I mean, I agree. I mean, as far as deferring it for the short term though, but I mean, obviously we need to do this at some point. If maybe we couldn't get a report back from Margaret on, because we actually didn't really know what the amount revenues were that we received,
Sure.
what, what kind of expenditures that we, and just
Kind of
to what
use it
tune
that
we
way.
actually subsidize the Louis Newman building, and just kind of get an idea how often it's rented, and I realize that if it's nicer, if it's more convenient for people, then more people are going to use it, and we're going to get more revenue. But this is certainly something that's worthwhile. And I mean, if for starters, if we could just come back with something that just lets us know
We
where
can do
we're
that,
at on
sure.
that place, because I mean, we don't want to continue to go upside down on something. We just kind of want to see, how it pencils.
Bob?
Well, I know we need the tables and chairs, and of course, we are certainly looking at ways to save money. And I just wonder, if we shouldn't prioritize, where we're going to save our money. So I don't know if the council feels this is a good place to save it, fine. But I'm just saying, there's going to be other items that come before us too, and we're going to have to scrutinize those items too. So I'm just saying, I don't think we can eliminate everything out of our budget. What I'm saying is, I think some of these things are going to have to be approved. Maybe this is one that doesn't need to be approved at this time. But anyway, so maybe we need to look at maybe all the things that are going to occur this year that and determine where we're going to spend our money. And anyway,
Yeah.
I would be in favor of deferring it until a later time.
I'll agree. I think we should defer it at least for a month, and maybe possibly getting a cost figure on just buying what we need to bring the capacity back up. Get what we need where we have enough chairs and tables. So if somebody does want to rent it for, a big event, we have enough.
And I'd definitely like to see where we're at as far as expenditures and revenues on that building. And just as an aside,
Sure.
have we followed up with Pat Maizetti as far as working with them on the interior, on the tiles and the interior?
I've actually been waiting for her to get back with us on that. She was gonna check into it with her, but
Can
I
we
will.
follow-
I will.
well,
Sure.
Deborah's
Oh.
involved with the
I
Selectmen.
told the Selectmen,
Can we do a point of order?
Right.
Can we do a point
Oh,
of
you
order?
want me to come up?
Okay.
Debbie,
Please.
Sorry
please.
about that.
Okay.
My mistake, I should have.
Okay.
Just so we get everybody.
You can give us a report, maybe, Debbie, on that.
Okay.
Okay, Debbie Allen, 1314 Merced Street. She did bring it before, we haven't had, I wasn't at the board meeting, so I'm sure she brought it up there, but she did just kind of mention it to the group, and I think she was planning to try and talk to some of the groups, and I'm going to talk to the Historical Society about, seeing if we can't help out in general with everybody else. So I think she's going to do it, but she was ill last week, so I think that's probably why you didn't hear from her.
Okay.
So I'll see her on Friday, and I'll see where it's at, and then I'll let you guys know.
Okay.
I'll call up to City Hall and let you guys know. But I think that's a doable thing. I think we can get the money together for that. As long as people go out, we'll have to go out and spearhead it and talk to the other service organizations.
Okay.
Okay?
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Debbie.
Mr. Mayor, I'll propose a motion. I move that we defer this particular budgeted item for this current year budget, 2002, 2003, to the next fiscal budget, which is coming up because we'll have finality pretty soon. That would be my motion.
Have a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. 9E, authorize staff to request additional funds from StanCog for sidewalk infill project and to obligate $651 for construction. Ernie?
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. As stated in the city manager's report, our current budget for sidewalk infill program is $79,918. These were the amount of funds that were available when we first applied for this last year. The city engineer, Gary Davis, sent out a survey crew, and they've already did the topo and the preliminary engineering. We have found that there are quite a few obstacles out there. We need to relocate street signs, fire hydrants, power poles. We have to redesign some of the curb returns so that they can accommodate the American Disabilities Act. And I think in one case we even have to redo a valley gutter. So last month when I attended the monthly STANCOG meeting, I brought up this issues to the board people, and they stated that they had some additional money that was available. So there is a letter that has been drafted to be sent in to Mr. Vince Angelino if council approves this item, that requests our budget be increased by $107,308. So the total amount would be $187,226. And the amount that we need to contribute is $651.
Let me just ask for a point of clarification.
Sure.
Having recently had some of these funds approved, you're asking in addition $107,000. Is that the correct amount? I
Yeah.
remember seeing this item on the last STANCOG consent calendar, which we got approved and were awarded those funds. This is $107,000 addition.
This issue has not been sent, has not been requested of STANCOG as of yet. If it's approved tonight, I have this letter drafted to go out tomorrow. And this is an additional $107,308 to be added to the approved amount of $79,918.
I just want to know how much money we're asking for.
We're-
When I sit on that policy board meeting next week.
Yes, we're asking for $107,308, and our cost is going to be $651. So I
That's
think
our
this
share.
is a pretty good
That
deal.
I think that's a pretty good deal.
That seems fair.
But it just kind of gives me a head up.
Sure.
Asking for it, and maybe some of the colleagues there on the policy board is asking.
Sure. Any additional questions?
No.
Hey, Gurney,
Thank you.
some direction?
I move that we authorize staff to request additional funds from STANCOG for sidewalk infill at an obligation cost of $651 for us.
We have a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Seemed like a pretty good deal to me.
We need more deals like that.
We do. Item 9F, make a finding that the building at 1414 Main Street is dangerous to life, limb, and property, and order the abatement of said property in accordance with provisions specified within Newman Municipal Code, Title 8, Chapter 2. Mike.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. At your last city council meeting, staff gave you an update on the abatement procedures for 1414 Main Street. Within the municipal code, Title 8, Chapter 2, it talks about posting and giving notice to the property owner that abatement procedure has commenced, and give them an opportunity to present findings to you that the project is not dangerous to life, limb, and property. And therefore, you will need to make findings subsequent to conducting a hearing. Within your package, staff has included a copy of the notice that was both posted on the site, which is required by the municipal code, as well as we sent a certified copy to the property owner. The municipal code only requires one or the other to be done. We did both just to make sure that all our bases were covered on there. Also included within your package was a letter from the building department certifying that that is a dangerous building, and it could pose significant damage to life, limb, and property if it continues to be unabated at this time. So with that, we're recommending that you conduct a hearing, allow the public to speak. Subsequent to that hearing, we ask that you make a finding that this property is subject to abatement due to its dangerous to life, limb, and property.
Mr. Holland, you're asking for us to make the finding tonight from start to finish with the public hearing process. how long would it be for actual abatement to clear out the property for the city?
Once you have the finding to make the findings tonight, staff can proceed forward with abatement, and it is our goal to have that site completely cleaned up within 30 days.
Have we heard anything from the property owner, Mike, or they?
I have not received a response from the property owner.
And when will we have it posted for the public hearing?
It's already posted. This is their opportunity. This is their hearing date.
This public hearing and
Correct.
the findings as of tonight.
Correct. And within the public notice that was in your package at the bottom, the last paragraph says that there will be a hearing tonight, February 11th at 7 o'clock or soon thereafter, as can be heard, for them to present their findings.
Mike, when you say we've tried to contact them, is that just via a letter, or have we tried to contact them via phone?
The code enforcement officer has been in personal contact with the property owner verbally, and we have sent them this copy of this notice, and it was certified mail.
Okay.
What was their response?
They have not responded.
Initially, there was, right after it happened, they came and were committed to moving quickly to get it cleaned up. As you know, initially the problem was that there was, we had to have the asbestos testing done, and so we were waiting for that. They finally agreed, to pay for the cost of that, of having the testing done. We got the report and then found that there was some asbestos there. It's not a major amount, but not a real difficult to take care of, but there is some. Last I talked to Ron, I believe, Michael, he was saying that Ron Stevens, our code enforcement officer through Precision, stated that they were concerned that this cost was too high, and that was the statement they were making. But I don't think you're going to be able to find it much less than that, and they have that opportunity. If they can find someone to do it for less than that, that's their right to do that. But this is the cost, using some people that we have used before to do the abatement. So,
And as Mr. Morris has stated, that was back in end of January, end of December, beginning of January, when we informed them of the cost and gave them. So they've had over 30 days to find another contractor to commence abatement of this. So therefore, if we continue to not abate this or not hold this hearing, we continue to push out abatement of this property.
Any other questions for Mike? Okay, we'll open the public hearing. Any comments? Mr. Naveau?
Thank you. Bob Naboa, 940 Fresno Street. This property is pretty close to my jewelry store. And my concern is one that obviously it's been a real eyesore, and it's turning into kind of quite a large garbage can also, because people are just throwing things in there and it's getting real unsightly. But the bigger issue is if the city does clean it up, what's going to happen with what's left? I mean, are we just going to have a dirt lot? Are they going to be required to bring it to some kind of safety standard, or are you going to bring it to some kind of a safety standard where people are going to be able to pass through there, or will it be fenced off? So those are kind of the issues I have, because one, aesthetically, we need to try to do something positive, I think, if we can. I don't know if the city has that latitude or not. I think obviously it's just a matter of clean off the site, fill in the basement portion of it, then what happens? Are you going to require the property owner to fence it off, and in what manner? But that's my concern.
That's a good question. Mike, do you know what we're going to do, or what is proposed?
Abatement procedure would require that we make it a safe situation, so that does not include fencing. We would abate, clean up the site, and backfill the basement at this time. If the council so desires, we can look into fencing it to make sure that it's aesthetically pleasing or hidden from public view. As you know, fencing does present a different type of aesthetics issue, so whatever this council so desires, staff can proceed with that.
Well, I was actually going to bring up this, and I'm glad Bob brought it up, because I had actually had some things I was going to bring up from items from the council that not only pertain to that lot, but also others that have, that are in need of infill, but I'll hold those comments till items from the council.
Does anybody have any comments on proceeding with a fence at this time, or get it abated and go from there? What?
I think we've got some,
Sure.
problems with the fence.
Could I add to my comments, please? My question was obviously just where do you feel, but personally, I would rather see it not fenced. I think it's a good opportunity to have a little pass-through area for people. I don't know what the legal issues are going to be of people parking back there, but it certainly opens that up as a possibility. If the property owner decides to just abandon it for a long period of time.
Leave it vacant, we're not sure.
Well, I think those are issues that need to be looked at, and if they're going to control that property site, then I think the city ought to require them to do it in a manner that is proper, and if it's a fence, then it certainly ought to be on their burden, and it ought to be one that they should maintain, although I do agree that you're going to open up a whole other bag of worms with a fence. That's not something you're going to have people posting bills on it, graffiti, all that sort of thing. So.
Well, let's push aside that as a thought, the fence part, just to merely abate it.
Thank you.
And have it all
Thank you, Bob.
spread out. Thanks, Bob. It's the $13,500. Because I want to kind of get to the heart of the matter with the cost factor. But it's a blight. It has to go, and it's been 5 months. So there's no need for us to continue on and debate it. We need to take action. I understand that. The $13,500, if I understand correctly, and legal can help me out, we would be able to place a lien if they do forfeiture paying the city to reimburse them for the abatement. Is that correct? What is that process? Because I'm looking for us to be able to map our money back.
Best case is we get that maybe when they sell the property, but not, I'm not sure that we can necessarily get it, even theoretically.
But the laws do require us, or allow us to place a lien on the property. But again, as he has stated, but when you recover that, when you lien a property is when the property is sold. Yeah,
Right.
So,
What is that?
She could put on the tax rolls like
Abatements on the tax rolls every July. Any nuisance that are primarily puts posts, and if the citizen hasn't paid it, then I turn it over for collection.
Margaret, can you, because I know you're getting ready to get
Margaret.
dinged by Tom back there.
He just gets the city, gets the lady to donate through the city.
In other words, we're going to shock her when she gets her new tax bill. In other words, that's what you're saying.
That's exactly what will happen.
Then it
Yeah.
can become delinquent from not paying the taxes with Stanislaus County.
Yeah.
Then, okay.
Yeah, all those public notices that you approve, and if the work is required, and if the city does it, we bill the property owner, and if they don't pay by July 1st is when the time frame is, I will assess it on the tax rolls, and it'll be due, and if they don't pay that, they're in the same problem as if they don't pay their taxes, period.
Right.
And I believe this falls under the same, it's an abatement. We do it with mistletoe and dirty lots and weeds.
Each one can be different.
Is this one different?
I recommend too that we go and get an inspection warrant for this before we just proceed.
Well, I think we should get a legal inspection warrant for the abatement before we proceed.
Yeah. And that will help our case in collecting the cost.
And you
Well, I'll talk to Cleve about that in detail, but I want to
Get everything in a row.
make sure, yeah, and that could put things off a few weeks.
Good, sounds like a plan.
I just think it's prudent. I'm appreciative of the update and the information from staff, because it gives us an overline what decision we're faced with. We're just simply saying, oh yeah, let's abate it. What are the ramifications? What's going to be the outcome of that? Sure. And I would certainly like to see us be able to recoup our money somehow. That building's set up vacant, and we all know the condition it has been in for probably since I've lived here over a decade. Now we might be in a position to actually be able to do something about it if the owners don't want to, since it's burned down. So.
Bob?
No, I'd just like to see the property be cleaned up, and it's really a safety hazard, it's a health concern. and it's an eyesore and everything else that you want to say, but I think it's been long enough, and I think it's time to clean it up.
Is there any other, thank you, Bob. Any other public comments? Then we'll close the public hearing. Have some direction, please.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we make a finding that the building at 1414 Main Street dangerous to life, limb, and property, and order the abatement of said property in accordance with provisions specified in Newman Municipal Code Title 8, Chapter 2.
We have a second.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. Item 10, items from the city manager.
Just quickly, I'll report on a couple items. First thing is on the streetscape. I am still working with Mr. Williams and his superintendent. He has been out here on a couple of occasions. Much of the concrete work that they were to work on has been replaced at this point. We are still working on some things and discussing with him the actual outcome of the letter, so I don't have a resolve on that yet. But he has gone back. I've been working with his superintendent, Jerry, rather than Mr. Williams, and he has taken back some information and is supposed to be getting me a memo on what they intend to do with the lettering. I should be able to have that by your next meeting and report back at your next meeting on that. The only other thing I have tonight, I will be attending beginning tomorrow at noon and Thursday and Friday the City Managers Conference in Monterey. Hopefully get some budget updates. Mr. Steve Peace, I believe, is supposed to be there to report to us, so it could be interesting.
Good luck.
I work for him, it's always interesting.
You don't write his speeches, do you?
No.
That's all I have.
Exactly. Item 11, item from city council members. Bob?
Just to follow up, Cleve, we talked about the workshop. That's a go as far as that date.
March 29th, I'm still trying to confirm. I'm working with, on a couple of consultants to do that. I'm trying to confirm with them that we can get that date, but I haven't heard anything from any others, so I'm going to plan on that date. Yeah.
Okay. Great. Okay, I know you had put down 8 to 12 or 9 to 1, but I'd prefer the earlier time.
The 8 to 12. That's fine.
6 to 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. The only other
Get up like work time. What time was that? 8
I heard that quote.
It's 8 to
8 to
12
noon.
or 9 to 1.
What's that?
8 to 12. The
Workshop.
Tentatively right now.
Mhm.
tentatively March 29th.
29th, yes, March 29th. That's a Saturday.
That time, 8 to 12.
That's fine.
The only question I had, Philippe, they're now putting
That'll be my last.
the lot at Bigelow's, and they're paving it, and they're putting in the sidewalks. Was my understanding, wasn't that configuration of that corner gonna be changed? It seemed like it was gonna be widened or opened it up more. I don't know, is that something that I was...
What has happened is it's not happening at this time as part of his project. When we sold the property to him, we kept the dedication, and at some point in the future, when it's deemed that it is necessary to put a right-hand turn lane there, or a, what do they call it, a transition lane for a right-hand turn lane, that will be put in. We have the property that can be done. In the interim, that area will just be landscaped. If you look out there where they're putting the sidewalk, in between the sidewalk and where the current curb is, that's
Right.
area that will be changed to be a transition lane for a right-hand turn lane there.
I know that's kind of a difficult corner there, you know, when cars come up to 33 to... It's just, in fact, they seem to proceed too far out in their intersection, and if you're traveling south, you're almost going to hit the darn things. I mean, it's really a concern.
It's an intersection that, yeah, will need to be done, and eventually, as we know, will probably be the next one that we'll be looking at to be a controlled intersection with traffic lights on that.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Charles?
Just a couple of things, and this kind of goes off of what we were talking about a few minutes ago regarding that lot. If there's something maybe we could do, and we've tried a lot of times regarding some of the down at the other end where the Rose Hotel lot is at, where next to Perry's Pizza, there's still a bunch of debris that's been on there for a long time, and I mean, we've never come to finality on getting that completely cleaned up. I mean, I know we've tried for a long time. The other thing is as we had talked about with that lot, and we're going through the process and everything, and you know, one of the other areas that's really irritating is on the corner right there on the building where Oscar's Donuts used to be, where that sign, that non-conforming sign that's, helped me with this.
Is that the Odd Fellows building? Is
Yeah,
that the one you're thinking of? Sure.
that non-conforming sign has probably been up there for, I don't know, long time, 5, 6 years maybe, longer. And we don't ever seem to be able to get anything done with that. And it's a huge eyesore. Anyway, so if we can maybe look into that. One of the other things with regards to that is, I know we've got our off-street parking requirements on some of these smaller lots, which perhaps makes it prohibitive for people to do infill on some of the smaller lots in town. And maybe if we could possibly bring that back to see if there's a way to, you know, maybe cut down on some of that requirement, maybe if it's some less parking than what's required, because that may be one of the things that makes it prohibitive for people to actually do an infill building because of the requirements. But at least for discussion's sake, maybe we could bring that back, see what our requirements are on that. But definitely on these, we're working on the one, if we could maybe complete the cleanup on the other, and if we could really do something about that sign and just get it done. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Charles. Tim?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I wanted to make mention for an agenda item for our next meeting, a review of our administrator. I think we're about at the 1-year time limit for that. I just wanted to make mention of that, if we could have that on our next
Sure.
agenda. A couple of things that I just wanted to announce and inform my colleagues, those of you that I had spoken with and made you aware. At the end of this month, I'm going to the Great Valley Center Leadership Institute, which is sponsored by the Great Valley Center in Modesto, and that's at no cost to the city. It's a retreat for a leadership retreat for a number of persons that were nominated within their communities up and down the state, from as far north as Reading to as far south as Bakersfield. And I just think that it's an opportunity for us on the west side to have some representation there. So often I hear where we think that we're forgotten. I think that shouldn't be. I think particularly within the Greater Valley. Also, I received a recent appointment to serve on the National League of Cities Public Safety and Crime Prevention Policy Committee. We all serve to some capacity on the league level. This is on the national level. And I just think that part of our service expands beyond our immediate town because it necessitates us getting additional information that helps us. And I like to inform the community of what we're doing, particularly when we're serving on these particular committees. And sometimes the city does incur some expense for our travels. And finally, I wanted to make mention of having had contact with a staffer from our assembly member, 17th District, Barbara Matthews. Stan Cog at our last meeting here in the county brought up an issue about our housing element, and in specific what the state is requiring of Stanislaus County, specifically in our growth patterns for housing through 2008. To give you a reference point, the state has said that we should have on the books over 32,000 housing units. That should be already zoned and planned. We're nowhere near that. What Stanislaus County has come up with is a projected plan of roughly 23,000 housing units. So in other words, all those annexings that we did and the housing that we have on the books and what's been throughout the county that's already on the books, the state is saying that's not enough. So we're lobbying with our state legislators to say we need some relief there because there is money tied to that. And how will it affect us? We really don't know yet, but we're trying to prepare ourselves to say, to voice our concerns. And that's just the informational from Stan Card as well. And I have nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. And I had nothing this evening, so from there we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor? Meeting adjourned.
You gotta wait for the second first.